Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to set up a really simple quest. And so we're going to use the journal system for this. And we're just going to make a really easy quest where someone asks you to bring them some cheese that will just be on the ground next to them. But we're really just going to be playing around with the journal system and then also adding some checks to our dialogue, which is probably something that might be new for some of us. So without further ado, let's dive in. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add an NPC onto the map. Ooh, glowy NPC. All right, the fact that she's glowing kind of scares me. So new character added to the map. I'm going to add a really basic dialogue. Hey, I lost my cheese. Can you help me find it? Sure. Or other option, of course, being no. Both of these are going to be end nodes. We want them to end the combat. Or excuse me, the dialogue. Hopefully it's not come to combat over cheese. Then we need to set our speaker groups. All of this should be familiar if you have watched the dialogue videos. If not, it might be worth going back to refresh yourselves. Okay, set those up. Everything should look good here. We'll call this just Cheese Quest. Okay, that looks good. Heading now on into our journal editor, which is found up here. We'll click this. We need to click on our project. Double click on quests. We'll add a new category that we'll just call main quest. You can call this whatever you want. This is going to be the main quest of this, though, is to find this cheese. So we're going to add this. We'll call it flow cheese quest. I'm going to prepend everything with flow just because these IDs will be used next to the games, and I just don't want to override anything, but we can call this one whatever we want. So we're going to call it Cheese Quest. Next, we need to add some objectives. So we're going to add the objective, find the cheese, and no, that's the, sorry, that's the ID. We'll add that, find the cheese there, flow, find the cheese. Call that there. Then we're going to add a step. And what I've noticed, you can write whatever you want on the step here. Let's call the ID flow find the cheese step. And then we also want to make this an add quest. I believe this means that when this gets triggered, it will add the quest if we don't already have it. So we can add whatever we want here. What I have noticed is that the steps are written kind of in past tense as if they were written in our player's journal. So the strange lady has asked us to find cheese. But where will we find it? All right. We're going to save that. And then we're going to work ahead of ourselves a bit here. We're going to add another objective called flow return the cheese. We need to return the cheese. And we're going to add flow turn the cheese step. I guess this will also be an add quest. You might want to play around with this if this was like a quest that you were making for your game, because I do believe that by doing this, when we pick up the cheese, it will add this return the cheese step, even if we haven't started the quest, but that's okay. For what I'm trying to do, we found the cheese. We now need to return it. All right, I think that's going to get us going. We might want to add more later. So now we're going to go back into dialogue. And we're going to go to the cheese quest. And under sure, we're going to set a flag here. and then we're going to go to quest, and this is going to be the step that we want to add. So we want to do the find the cheese step on this. We'll go ahead and save that, and then we will reload our level and story. And if we have set up everything correctly, hopefully we can just get that quest. Oh, I forgot a step, really easy step here, which is under the sidebar. Don't forget that we need to link up that dialogue. Okay, let's try that now. So I don't have a timeline here, which is why we have the very basic dialogue, but that's okay for today. We'll say sure. Journal updated cheese quest. If I press J for journal, we see we have a quest. That's really exciting. So let's back out of this. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to add some cheese. That's perfect. Maybe we can even get a bigger slice just so it's easier to click on later. I'm going to copy this already because I'm going to now go into my story editor, and I've already set up a new script called TutQuest, but feel free to go ahead and make a new script under start. If this is new to you, you may want to go watch my video on basic scripts. So we're going to now add the cheese to a database. Just remove that. We don't need the item type. And then what we want to do is we just want to say essentially like if the cheese was added to a character's inventory, then we just want to update that quest. So how do we do that? We'll say if added and then control space so we can see, hey, there's a function called added to. This did take me a while to find. So if you're like, hey, how did he, know that it was called added to? Answer is I didn't. I searched item added, inventory, all sorts of things until I figured out that it was called added to. So we're going to do cheese, which we're going to instantiate here in a second. And we're just going to pass through the character. It doesn't really matter who the character is, and we can see it needs an add type. I don't really care about the add type either. So next we need to make sure that when something gets picked up that it is the cheese. And so we'll just do it like this. And then we also want to just maybe set this quest for all of the players. So even though I passed care there, and that might work, or car there, I'm going to just do DB players, and we're just going to bring the player as well. Again, none of these concepts should be super new except for the added to function. So then what are we going to do? We are going to update the quest. So we're going to do quest update. There is the function right there. And we can see that there's a couple different ways we can call it. But the easiest way to call it is just to say the name of our quest first. So the name of our quest being Flow Find the Cheese. And then the step next. So Flow Return the Cheese step. Okay, and if we did everything right, we will be able to build this. And we failed here. Oh, I need to add a semicolon there. Now we'll build this. All right, build success. We head back to our game. We reload the story and level. You'll see part of the reason that I kept this dialogue so simple is every time I reload the level and story, it will clear my quest progress, which is okay. And so we just want to get that quest back. So we have it. Find the cheese. The strange lady asks us to find cheese, but where will we find it? I don't know. Where will we find it? Let's pick up the cheese. Okay, nothing happened. Maybe you figured this out before me, but right here, this needs to be flow cheese quest, not flow find the cheese, as we need to first pass the entire quest, not just one of the objectives. So I'm going to go back into the game. I'm going to...
Why, hello there, weary
Oops.
traveler.
Sorry about that. I clicked on an NPC from a previous tutorial. I'm going to drop the cheese just to make this a bit easier on us. That way when we reload, it'll just be right there. So now I'm going to rebuild that script file and load it again. All right, it's rebuilt. Um, as I'm reloading this, I'll just mention, some of you may wonder, like, hey, why do you keep your mistakes in here? Is it because you're a garbage video editor or something? And the answer is yes, I am. Just kidding. I've done some video editing and stuff, but it's actually just because I am guessing that as I'm having some of these mistakes, some of you are too. And I think it's better to show the process rather than just like the final outcome. Um, I'm sure as this tool gets more popular, there will be other YouTubers that you can watch if you like to just get the info as quickly as you can. All right, let's try that. All right, still nothing, so we have some sort of a problem in our story editor. And in this case, it was a double fail. I also misspelled that. So this is just a reminder, we really need to be careful when we're spelling things on these quests, because obviously they won't work if you don't. All right, with everything renamed, let's launch this again. Okay, we launch. We talk to the lady here. We get our cheese quest. We pick up the cheese. Journal updated, that's a great sign. And okay, now you'll notice we have both of our objectives. That's great, but why is we need to return the cheese darkened as if it's old and find the cheese is still highlighted as if it's new? That's not ideal, and so let's go ahead and reset our cheese here. And then let's stop this, and it has to do with the journal editor. You'll notice that we have priority here on these objectives. And so we need to make sure that our priority is in order. And so we need to move the priority of this up and make sure that this is not up, and we'll save that there. And now in the game, you can see that our quest is working properly. So how do we get the cheese returnable? Well, this is probably the first time on this channel that we're going to cover some conditional dialogue things. So we're going to open back up the dialogue again. And we're going to open up the cheese quest here. And we are going to add a couple more greetings here. We're going to add another greeting that says, thank you for the cheese. And then we're going to add another one. I'm going to just copy and paste this that says, thanks again for the cheese. And I'm going to set both of these to be end nodes. And now we're going to add flags to check. So earlier we added a flag to set. Now we're adding a flag to check, meaning this dialog node will only fire if the certain flag is checked. I will say what I would think would be possible and what I am kind of confused is not possible is that we'd be able to just check this return the cheese step. But in all of my tests, I could not get that working. And so if you can get it working great, it'll just mean less flags. This way works just as well. It's just a bit more tedious. And we're just going to say flow grabbed the cheese. We need to add a description that I don't care about. And so we're going to check that. And then on this one, we're going to add another similar one called flow cheese quest completed. We're going to add a description there. And then we're actually going to set the completed to this one here. We can filter down here. Okay. We can save that now. And another step that we need to do. We need to go back up to the journal editor, and we need to go back to our quests, and we just need to add a return the cheese quest step called flow cheese returned. Description will say, we've returned the cheese. We'll head into dialog, open that back up one more time, and we'll just set that flag here under flags to set. Cheese returned. Okay. Let me double check and make sure that I made that a quest close type as well. Need to return the cheese. Cheese returned. Okay, I want to make this a close quest. All right, we need to now go in here and we need to set our flag to that global flag as well. So this is just set flag, flow, grabbed the cheese. I'm sorry, this actually doesn't take in a string. I need to first generate my definitions, then we will call a flag, and then now we will do flow underscore grab the cheese. There we go. Now we'll build that. After we built, there is one last thing that I need to do, which I was not thinking about, which is that if we go back and open up our dialog, right now, even though we had created these other greetings and added flags for them, this would still fire because it's the first greeting here in the node where everything all the criteria was matched. And so we do need to actually go add a flag to check. And we're going to add that same global flag, but this time, instead of being checked, it needs to be unchecked. And similarly, we need to go back to this one and add the global flag. Completed. And that also needs to be unchecked. So there really are a lot of things that you need to be thinking of, even for something so basic. There are a good number of flags and things like that that we need to be aware of. If all goes well, though, this should complete the quest. Okay, let's start back up. We talk. We get the quest. Find the cheese. We grab the cheese. We need to return the cheese. Thank you for the cheese. Now we can see that the quest has been completed, and it's under completed quest now. And now it says, thanks again for the cheese, and no matter how many times we talk to her, it will say thanks again for the cheese. All right, I know this was a bit longer than the other ones that I've made, but obviously it was needed. We made kind of the most basic quest imaginable, and this hopefully will give you a good respect for Larian when creating this game. Why do I say that? Because we made the most basic quest, and there are even bugs in it. If I pick up the cheese without talking to her, it will still start that quest. Now think about how Larian has multiple ways to do each quest. Or another bug that would happen on this one is after I talk with her and accept the quest, I don't have a dialogue node for after I've talked with her the first time, but before I've gotten the cheese. So, I need 4 or 5 different dialogue pathways just for this basic quest. And now think of how Larian has, 5 different ways to complete every quest, and there needs to be dialogue and flags and such for every possibility the player can think of. And I say all of that to encourage you to keep your quest simple, keep your things simple on here. Um, and just maybe accept that, bugs are going to happen, but work through them one at a time. So, uh, thanks for watching. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. Yeah, we're getting some really exciting stuff on the Discord. So if you have not joined the Discord, now is a great time. Thanks and see you next time.